Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be diving back into the world of Warhammer with an awesome unboxing of this JoyToy Warhammer Horus Heresy Sons of Horus Praetor. So let's crack this box open and see what the Sons of Horus Praetor has to offer. Alright then, starting with the box itself. So as usual, JoyToy, they do a great job on the packaging. You know, you can tell they're keeping the collector in mind with this solid compact box. It has the classic Warhammer and JoyToy logos all across it, as you can see. And then again, you can see the picture of the figure itself being showcased, nice, and all its glory on the front there. If you flip it around then to the back quickly, you can see some nice promo shots. You can see him stood there with his accessories, some close-ups, so you've got the interchangeable head. And then they always do this bit where they have a little bit of blurb, but it's all copyright stuff. It's nothing to do about the character itself. All it is just telling you about copyright, Games Workshop, etc. And then on the sides and the back, you know, you've got your standard issue Warhammer logos, JoyToy logos, information, all that stuff. Nothing really exciting, so let's just leave that and move on. So inside we're greeted with the protective layers. So he's in his little plastic coffin, as you can see. And even behind him, they even supply him with his own little standing base. One of them, you know, something to help you stand up, which I really like. I'm just going to say that out the gate right now. I think that's a really great inclusion, and again, I wish more figures would do that. So let's take a closer look at all of the accessories he comes with first. And we've got a collection of interchangeable hands. Well, I say collection, what do I mean by collection? I mean we've got two hands. So he comes with a power fist on his left hand, which means you cannot change that. But he comes with two extra hands for his right hand. So he's got a grabby hand, which he doesn't come with a... well, he comes with a grabby hand attached, but he doesn't have any sort of weapon to attach that with. I mean, I suppose he could just hold the pistol in a non-threatening manner. It comes with a fist, so you can have a closed fist, so you can make him look really menacing and up for a fist fight. He comes with a Volkite Serpenter, which is his other weapon apart from his power fist. So this is his ranged little pistol he comes with. And they've done an alright job. It's, yeah, they've done it a silver, they've got some gold on it. There is a little mark here where the black has run over onto the silver. For me, it's something I could probably touch up if I wanted to, which I might do. So I'm not too bothered about that. It doesn't really scratch off, so I won't be trying to do that. But again, you know, it looks good. They've managed to break it up, I'd say, quite nicely. So with the gold, the silver and the black on it, it gives it a nice look and it breaks it up, so whether, you know, just rather than being one solid piece of silver plastic like, you know, you might get, it's a nice touch. So yeah, they've done an alright job on that. I'll give them an alright job on that. Not an amazing job, just an alright job. As for his second head then, so the unhelmeted head, I'm actually impressed with this, I have to say. I mean, I'm automatically drawn to the eyes, and I think they've actually done a really good job. It's hard to see, but I do think they've actually, he's not boss-eyed, he's not looking one way and the other, he's actually looking straight ahead, which is always a winner. And all the extra detail and all the paint application around the sides and the head and the back are looking really good, really clean. And yeah, I think the sculpt itself actually looks alright. He actually, yeah, I'm impressed with that. So I'm happy with that. I think that looks great. Classed as an accessory, I suppose, is his backpack, because that comes separate and it'll plug in. And looking at that again, I think they've done an alright job. They've got the green, they've nailed the gold where it needs to be. They've tried to do some battle damage on it as well, which I've just noticed. So they've actually cut some lines into it, and they've tried to apply a little bit of silver to it. They haven't really put much effort into that, I would say. It looks like they've kind of sculpted the cuts and dents into it, and then they have attempted to put a little bit of silver on to make it look scuffed, but the silver's either worn away or they just haven't put enough on, so it doesn't look quite right, I would say. But you know, it's an extra attention to detail. And then you've got the silvers, you've got the blacks, and silvers look like they've been that sort of washed and dry brushed effect that JoyToy do like to do on these guys. And then other than that, yeah, it's looking good. So overall, the accessories are looking pretty good. They've got intricate engravings and weathering finishes that really match, you know, the dark gritty vibe of Warhammer 30k, the Horus Heresy. And now, let's move on to the figure itself. So first off, this guy is actually based off of the Praetor model that Forge World itself makes and sells. And he's not a named character specifically, he is just a standard Praetor that comes with a Power Fist and Volkite Serpenter, but he is specific to Sons of Horus. And as you can tell just by looking at the armour, it's no joke because you can see the Sons of Horus iconography everywhere. And it runs all across him, across shoulder plates, across the chest plate, even on his Power Fist. He's even got the little keychain one hanging off his Power Fist. He's got the eye on one of his knee pads, on his gauntlet, on his right arm as well. He's also got another Eye of Horus. And when you flip him around into the cape, or onto the cape even, should I say, into the cape, he has the 16th Legion plastered all across his cape. So, if he was to get lost or forget who he was, he'd have a pretty good bet at trying to work out where he's come from at least, or anybody else could possibly tell him. So you're not losing him anywhere, you know where he's come from, and you know who he belongs to. Now the paint job itself is looking really good. Again, JoyToy tend to do a pretty good job. They do tend to do weathering quite well. They do try and throw in some shading here and there. It's not all just flat colours. They've got some really good shading around sort of the helmet areas, on the hands, the gauntlets. You know, they do try and throw a little bit of shading where they can. However, they have tried to do the, the battle scar or battle damage again, like we saw on the backpack. And even though it looks good, well, I say it looks good. I mean, I look good in the fact that it adds to the effect. They haven't really put much effort into trying to put the silvers around it. It looks like they've tried to attempt it, which is I think what makes it look worse. It's like it's almost a half job. So that could have been a bit stronger, but you know, one or two of them almost look like they've got a bit of recess shading in them as well, which actually might have just been better off just doing that. But you know, it's all sculpted in. Some of them look alright, some of them just look a bit weak, like they've just either worn off or not really applied enough to it. But overall, you know, the paint scheme is pretty solid and it gives it that sort of nice, worn, you know, ancient worn effect like you would expect really in the Horus Heresy. You know, it's a civil war, everybody's constantly fighting. And he doesn't look too pristine, which is quite nice. The golds themselves, the gold's looking good. I can't find any sort of paint faults really. They've done like a metallic red over the eyes. And again, actually, the little eye on the chest piece looks quite nice. So they've obviously put a, I'm going to say they've probably painted it gold, put them red over it to make it metallic, but they've actually put an extra little bit, what looks like an orange, just to highlight it slightly over the top. Which is actually quite, gives it quite a nice effect, I would say. I'm quite pleased with that. Only problem I have been having is the little skull that hangs from his chains here on his chest plate. Well, this came loose and it keeps falling off, but it's not the end of the world. A little bit of glue will probably sort that right back out. As you can see, it's got a little slot piece on it that just slots into the top of the skull. And it's obviously worked its way loose and it just keeps dropping off. So I'm going to chuck some super glue on that to fix that. That's no problem. The other accessories around the back here is his grenades, and they look like they're on a little ball hinge. And yeah, the little ball joint. So they can literally just pop in and out. And again, looking at them, they have a nice little dry brushed silver effect all over them. Okay then, moving on to the articulation then. So, JoyToy, you know, they've really had some good articulation in the couple of figures that I have looked at so far. And this guy, no different. The only issue I had is I did have to bathe him. So he did come a bit tight. So his right hip joint and his power fist arm were very stiff and I didn't want to break them. So I gave him a little bit of a soak in a hot water bath. And everything loosened up and has been fine ever since. I've had no issues after doing that. So highly recommend that if you are picking this up or with any other JoyToy purchase. In fact, if you've got some stiff joints straight out the box, just stick it in the sink with some, hot water, leave it for a few minutes and come back and see how they're doing. Anyway, this Sons of Horus Praetor is fully posable with multiple points of articulation. Now, I'm just going to show you quickly. We're going to start down at the feet. He comes with toe articulation. That goes at a full 90 degrees, which is quite disturbing. But it does mean, again, you could probably pose him in either kneeling down, a run-in pose. You know, it all helps, doesn't it? It adds to it. His foot is on a ball joint. And if you saw my Dante one, which I last did, Dante had an issue where one of them would come off. But I think that's just the way the figure was designed. These ones are pretty solid. In fact, it's a double ball joint peg that just plugs in and out. Gives you some nice freedom of movement with the foot. Up to the knee joint then, and he does have a double knee joint, but with the way it's designed, because of the power armor, it does get stuck behind his thigh cut there, so you are struggling a little bit to get the full bend out of it, but he does have some good articulation in the knees. He's got a rotating hip joint, so it can rotate around the thigh cut, and he's obviously got up and down. It doesn't really go out to the side, mostly because the leg armor prevents him. Up to the joint, torso joint then. So I think it's a double ball joint hinge. It's hard to tell, but it does move. So he's got full twisting motion at the waist. And then he's got the top torso, like ball joint movement. So you can roll around, up and down, left and right, and so on. So it's looking good. Onto the arms then. So these shoulder pads, if you're not aware, so these shoulder pads sit with a little loop, like a rubbery loop that goes over the arm plugs to plug them into the body, so it keeps them on. So they do kind of move around to give you a bit more freedom with posing. And the arms themselves, they've got like a single butterfly joint, so it comes forward out of the body. It looks a bit ugly when you do that, and then it goes back again. And then you've got on this power fist arm, a little cut at the top there. You can't really, it's hard to move it. Yeah, so you've got a little cut at the top of the arm, and then you've got elbows. So the power fist itself actually has a separate cut for it to rotate, which is quite cleverly masked inside of it. So it looks like, you can't really tell, but it will move around. And then it translates over to the other side, so you've got all the other same stuff with the arm. Obviously you've just got a small hand which pops in and out to change. And then for the head, it's on a ball joint, so the head will pop off quite easily. It's just got a ball joint peg in it, pops back on quite nicely, and he's got full range of 360 motion, a bit of ups and downs and left and rights, and that will do you for articulation. Alright then, so what's the verdict? If you're a Warhammer fan and you're looking to bring a piece of the Horus Heresy into your collection, this JoyToy figure, it's fantastic. If you don't collect the Warhammer models themselves, but you're into some of the lore, you've maybe read the Horus Heresy books, and you're a figure collector, I would definitely pick this up. And on the other flip side, if you do both, like me, if you happen to spend all of your money on Warhammer and you have no money to spend on these, but somehow you are still spending money on these, I would do it. It's great. I love Sons of Horus. They are one of my Heresy armies. I say one, yes. So when this came out, it was almost a no-brainer, but I did have to wait till I pulled the trigger on it. But now I've got it in hand, I'm glad I have, and I'm sad that I waited. It looks great. So I highly recommend it. And if you can pick it up from somewhere, in fact, actually pick it up from cooltoysclub.com if you're in the UK. So I'm going to about wrap that up there. Thanks for joining me in this unboxing adventure. Don't forget to hit that like button if you enjoyed the video, that is, and subscribe for some more awesome content. I'm going to be doing some more Warhammer stuff, Warhammer related collectibles and painting and all kinds of stuff at some point. I figured I'm starting to see a trend, and I think that's where this channel might start heading towards. But let me know in the comments what you think about the JoyToy line and which Warhammer character you'd actually love to see next in it, because they're coming out with a lot of characters and Primarchs, and yes, I have pre-ordered Sanguinius. Until next time then, guys, keep collecting, come back and join me, and may the Emperor protect you. Or Horus, if that's your thing.